going to give a technique that I used for years and years and years that I think was very helpful for me, and I believe can be helpful for many people. It goes along with the story, and the story very quickly is generally, I think, a Chinese story. There's once was in a village, there was a young girl who became pregnant before she was married, and her father found out, and she was completely freaked out and was afraid that her father, who was a very angry man, would kill literally the guy who got her pregnant. And she was trying to prevent that and freaked out. When her father confronted her and said, who made you pregnant? Who is it? She realized immediately that the only person he wouldn't kill in the village would be the monk who was meditating in a cave. So she said the monk in the cave, and he was flabbergasted, but he didn't kill him. But when she had the child, months later, he grabbed the child from her, and he ran through the village shouting to the people that, see what the monk did to my daughter. The false monk, the horrible monk, the ugly monk did to my daughter. And he brings the child into the cave, and he puts the child in front of the monk and says, this is your bastard, you take care of him. And the monk looked up from his lowered eyes, and he said, is it so? And from that point, he took the child and he nurtured it. He had to go get milk and do whatever was necessary to bring the child up. The story goes on that at some point, several years later, this has been eating on the daughter, what happened, and she also wants her child. So she eventually confronts her father and says, look, what I told you was a lie, so you wouldn't kill anybody at all. And the father when he heard this, was completely embarrassed. He was completely upset. This sacred monk he accused of something that was completely false. So he kind of came through the village, and he shouted that the monk didn't really do this. It wasn't him, and so forth. So he goes to the cave, and he says, why don't you give me the child? Give me the child. I know you didn't do this. It was my fault, and I'm sorry. And the monk again raised his eyes from his meditative space and said, is it so? And handed him the child. And that's the backdrop of the story. And so for years, whenever something would be happening to me, especially something that was significant, somebody was yelling at me for doing something wrong, or was chiding me or insulting me, or they were praising me for doing something right and they were giving me accolades or whatever, I would first say internally, is it so? And what happened would be I would go immediately to the moment and I wouldn't immediately go to some sort of judgment. Mm-hmm. And it allowed me to actually be present to whatever was happening, right, and not be in judgment. Yeah. Because the first thing I would say was, is it so? Yeah. And it brought a kind of equanimity to my life. Yeah. And it's that equanimity that is very close to the space of what I call isness. Yeah. Because you're just present with it. Yeah. You're not going into some judgment which is coming from a reference, but from me, you're insulting me, or you're praising me, or whatever. Yeah. And so I have that suggestion is for just a day-to-day life existence, that whenever something especially intense is happening to you, you internally say, is this so? And just feel it. What this so is. Yeah. And that is, for me, and I believe for others, could be a very powerful meditation. So,
beautiful, beautiful.
So how about you? You have one?
Okay, yeah. So meditation. This is meditation. It's sort of like you said, a technique, or what I got from Papaji, which is if you want to know your who you are, that means that if you and where who you are is, it's here and it's now, right? It's not miles away, it's not around the corner. Obviously who I am is here. So if I make any effort to go somewhere, I'm actually going away from myself. And so if I get in a car and go somewhere, I'm in a way, I'm distracting myself from myself. So to go anywhere is a distraction from what I am. And that includes mentally. So the technique is stop. And that is, stop any effort for anything in the future. And so maybe people listening to this, they might be interested in awakening, or they're interested in enlightenment. So what this is even an effort for awakening. It's just stop all effort, even for striving for an awakening. Stop any effort to change anything. Stop any effort to acquire something in the future, because then as soon as we go into future, we're in mind. And then stop anything about the past. Any effort to go into the past is like, oh well, so I'm remembering something from the past. Basically, stop all effort. Just stop. And that's it. Because when you stop effort, and you stop any kind of effort, you're instantly outside of the realm of mind. Mind really only knows effort. It's trying to either get rid of something, or it's trying to acquire more of something it likes. And if you drop all effort in both of those, I'm no longer striving for something, or I'm no longer trying to get away from something, some sensation in my body or a feeling I have. No. I just stop all effort. Just don't touch.
Yeah, that's a very powerful. I think that's a very powerful technique. It's just stop.
And the lovely thing about it is you can rest in that space that arises of when you stop efforting. You can just rest in that space, and then the secret of the present moment is revealed.
Yeah. Beautiful. That's beautiful. Yeah. This is an aside, but something came to mind is that when I used to listen to lectures, especially lectures with Osho, but actually with other people as well, they would oftentimes talk about you could use any sense to see clearly this space.
Yeah.
And that became more clear to me. You could use seeing, you could use hearing, because what you're doing is just being with that, whatever that is.
Yep.
You're just being seeing, or you're just being hearing.
Exactly.
Krishnamurti used to say, when you're walking, just be walking. That's it.
Yes.
Nobody's
else.
walking.
Don't add
just
anything
walking
else.
is happening.
Yeah.
And that's the same kind of thing. It's interesting.
Yeah. It is the same. It's exactly the same thing. There's no effort to do anything about it.
Right.
Or to change it, or to make it better.
Right.
Even something painful. Even a painful emotion or something that's happening.
Yeah, well, the Buddhas used to say that give me painful, and it's bliss, and give me
Yeah.
give me anger, and it's bliss, and give me this, it's
That's
bliss,
right.
because
That's right.
that's all it is. That's all it is. It's not, they're not
Yeah.
being anything other than that.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's interesting. Yeah, good.